The sun had already set, leaving the desert in a deep, quiet darkness. The human, whose name was Alex, had been part of a small research team sent to investigate unusual signals that machines had picked up in a remote area far from any town or village. The signals were strange, too regular to be random wildlife, yet too irregular to be anything humans had ever seen. Some on the team joked that it must be some sort of lost radio transmission. Others thought it was a glitch in the instruments. But Alex felt a strange excitement deep in his chest. Something about the unknown always stirred a part of him that craved adventure. Though he had never imagined that tonight would be the night when adventure would stare back at him. Alive and moving, the wind swept across the desert, carrying dust in tiny clouds that glinted under the light of a half-moon. Alex trudged carefully over uneven sand and jagged rocks, carrying only a flashlight and a small backpack of equipment. He had been following the faint trail of the signals for hours, and now he realized that he was alone. His team had spread out to cover more ground, but the desert's vast silence made him uneasy. Every shadow seemed to shift unnaturally, and every distant sound made his heart jump. He tried to tell himself that it was just the wind or the movement of small desert animals. But a part of him couldn't shake the feeling that he was being watched. Then he saw it. At first, he thought it was a trick of the moonlight, a movement too large to belong to any animal he knew. The shape emerged slowly from the shadows, tall and strong, with limbs that moved in a way he had never seen before. It looked like a dog, but impossibly larger, with long limbs and eyes that seemed to glow faintly in the moonlight. Its fur shimmered slightly, though Alex couldn't tell if the light was reflecting off it or if the creature itself carried some inner glow. He froze, unsure whether to run or to stay still. His mind raced, imagining every possible explanation, none of which seemed reasonable. Suddenly, the creature stopped at a few feet from him. Its eyes locked onto his, and Alex felt a strange sensation wash over him. It was not fear alone. It was something deeper, something that made the hairs on his arms stand straight. The creature's presence was commanding but not threatening. Then it spoke, not in words he could hear, but in a voice that entered his mind directly, calm and clear. "Stand still, human." Alex's first reaction was disbelief. He blinked several times, looking around to see if anyone had snuck up on him or if he was hallucinating from exhaustion. But there was no one. Only the creature, sitting quietly with an intelligence that seemed beyond comprehension. The words repeated in his mind, stronger this time, "Stand still. This is how our bond begins." Alex's knees shook, but he obeyed. Every muscle in his body wanted to flee, but something deep inside him compelled him to stay. As he stood frozen, the creature began moving closer, slowly and deliberately. Alex noticed that it did not make a sound. Its steps were so light that even on the uneven sand, they seemed to float above the ground. The creature stopped just a few feet away, studying him with eyes that seemed to see every corner of his soul. Alex could feel a strange connection forming, almost like a gentle tug on his mind. It was not threatening, not commanding in a harsh way, but more like a quiet invitation to trust. He realized that this was unlike anything he had ever experienced. He had grown up loving stories of animals with extraordinary abilities, tales of loyalty and intelligence beyond human comprehension, but this was not a story. It was real, terrifying, and amazing all at once. The air around him seemed to change, carrying a faint warmth that made the night air less cold, less empty. Alex felt as if time itself had slowed down. Every sound of the desert, the wind, the shifting sand, the distant cries of unseen animals faded into the background. All that existed was the creature and him. Then, slowly, the creature lowered its head slightly, almost like a bow. Alex could sense that it was assessing him, studying his reaction. He realized that the creature had its own rules, its own sense of honor and caution. It was not attacking. It was waiting. The alien canine had told him to stand still. But why? What was this bond it spoke of? Alex's mind was racing with questions. But the most important thing he understood was that any sudden movement could break the fragile connection forming between them. He held his breath, standing motionless like a statue, feeling as if every second stretched into eternity. Finally, after what felt like a long, tense moment, The creature took a step closer, and then another. Alex could feel its presence pressing gently against his awareness, a sensation of calm that was almost impossible to describe. The creature did not speak again in words, but images and emotions began to flood Alex's mind, visions of the creature's world, its kind, the forests and plains it once roamed, and the loyalty it expected from those who bonded with it. Alex saw flashes of its species caring for each other, protecting one another, and living with a deep respect for life. He realized that the bond was not about control or fear. It was about mutual understanding, trust, and commitment. Alex's initial fear began to shift into a strange awe. He had never felt so small and so important at the same time. The desert around him seemed less threatening, less lonely, and the stars above felt like silent witnesses to the moment unfolding below. He understood that he was at the start of something that would change his life forever. The creature lifted its head and looked him directly in the eyes. Alex felt a wave of emotion, curiosity, and even a hint of warmth, as if the creature was inviting him to take a step toward something greater. Then, with a gentle movement, it extended one paw forward, not as a threat, but as an offer. Alex knew instinctively what he had to do. He stepped forward slightly, reaching out his hand. And for the first time since the encounter began, he felt that the impossible was real. He and the creature were no longer two strangers in the night. Something deeper, something unspoken, had begun. Hours passed, or maybe minutes. Time felt meaningless before Alex finally realized he was no longer afraid. The desert no longer seemed empty. The wind no longer seemed harsh. The creature remained by his side, calm and steady, a silent guardian. Alex knew that the first step of the bond had been made, and that the journey ahead would test him in ways he could not yet imagine. But for the first time in his life, he felt a certainty that he had never known. He was not alone. Something extraordinary had chosen him, and he had stood still long enough to be ready. By the time Alex returned to his team, just as dawn began to paint the sky with pale light, he carried a secret that no one could understand. The signals that had led him here were real, yes, but more importantly, they had brought him face to face with a being from another world, a being that had judged him, studied him, and ultimately chosen him. Alex knew that his life would never be the same. And though he had not yet seen the full bond in action, the memory of the night, of standing frozen under the moon with the alien canine watching him, would remain vivid in his mind forever. The desert was quiet once more, but in that silence, Alex could feel the heartbeat of something extraordinary. It was the beginning of a bond, a promise of trust, and the start of a journey that would test his courage, his loyalty, and his humanity. And in that quiet, he understood the meaning of the creature's words, "Stand still, human. This is how our bond begins." After that first encounter in the desert, Alex couldn't stop thinking about the alien canine. Even though he had returned to the small base where his team was gathering, the memory of those glowing eyes, the commanding presence, and the strange calm that washed over him refused to leave. Everyone else was busy analyzing equipment and recording the strange signals. But Alex felt a pull, something deeper than curiosity, something that was almost like a calling. He knew he could not explain what he had seen. If he had told anyone, they would think he was imagining things or joking. And yet he could not forget. He decided to go back to the place where he had seen the creature. This time, he moved quietly, taking only what he needed, making sure his team was occupied elsewhere. The desert was even colder in the early hours of the morning, and the moon was low, painting long shadows across the sand. Alex felt a strange mix of fear and excitement. He was not sure what he hoped to find. Maybe nothing. Maybe it was a mistake. But he also had a feeling, a deep intuition, that the alien canine had not simply vanished. It had purpose, and that purpose might be connected to him. As he walked, the desert seemed alive in a different way. He noticed small sign tracks in the sand that did not belong to any animal he knew. Patterns in the wind that almost seemed intentional. He could feel a presence before he could see it. And then, just as the first light of dawn brushed the horizon, he saw it again. The alien canine was standing on a ridge, its body tall and strong, its eyes glowing faintly even in the growing daylight. It looked at him, and Alex felt that same strange pull. This time, he did not freeze. He approached slowly, keeping his movements calm and deliberate. The creature watched, its head slightly tilted, as if studying his intentions. Then, it did something Alex did not expect. It emitted a low sound, not a growl or a bark, but something softer, almost like a vibration in the air that resonated in his chest. At first, he thought he was imagining it, but the sensation was real. And soon he realized that the creature was communicating not with words he could hear, but with feelings, images, and emotions that flowed directly into his mind. Alex saw flashes of the creature's life. Forests that glowed with bioluminescent plants, plains filled with creatures of many shapes and sizes, and packs of beings that moved together in perfect harmony. He felt the love and loyalty shared between them, a deep connection that transcended speech. Then, he saw moments of training, of learning, of challenges overcome through trust and cooperation. The alien canine was showing him who it was, where it came from, and what it valued. Alex realized that this was more than an encounter. It was an invitation into a world he could not have imagined. The creature's emotions washed over him: caution, curiosity, and a subtle test of courage. It did not push or command. It simply offered a window into its mind and waited for Alex to respond. Alex felt fear rising again, but alongside it, he felt understanding. He began to see that the bond the creature spoke of was not about obedience or submission. It was about choice, trust, and shared responsibility. By standing still before, he had shown a willingness to listen, to observe, and to respect something beyond his own world. That act had been the first step, and now the creature was asking him to take the next step. Alex tried to communicate back, but words seemed too small. Instead, he focused on his intentions, on his feelings of respect, curiosity, and empathy. He imagined a connection, reaching out gently in thought, acknowledging the life and intelligence of the being before him. The creature responded almost instantly. Its eyes softened, and the faint glow in its fur shifted in color, a sign Alex intuitively understood as approval or recognition. He realized that this language, beyond words, was far more precise than anything humans could use. Emotions, intentions, and memories could carry truth that words often twisted or hid. The alien canine began moving, slowly circling him in a deliberate pattern. Alex stayed still, observing, noticing how it shifted its weight, how it seemed to sense every tiny movement he made. With each step, he understood more about its nature: patience, attentiveness, and awareness beyond human capacity. It was teaching him not through instruction, but through presence. He realized that this was a test of empathy and awareness. To bond with such a being, he would need to understand not only its actions but also its feelings and perspective. As the sun rose higher, casting warm light over the desert, Alex felt a sudden wave of clarity. The creature was not just testing him, it was inviting him to participate in a new way of being. Its thoughts and feelings projected images of danger and protection, of loyalty and cooperation, of choices made in trust, rather than fear. Alex saw himself in scenarios he had never imagined, standing with the creature against impossible odds, making decisions that affected both of their lives, and learning to move in harmony with something utterly alien yet deeply familiar in spirit. Then, the creature made a sudden movement. It lowered its head, sniffing the air around Alex, and Alex could feel a connection deepen in response. It was a silent acknowledgement, a confirmation that the bond was beginning to form. Alex's heart raced not from fear, but from awe. He understood that this bond would not be simple. It would demand patience, courage, and self-awareness. But it would also bring rewards beyond any human experience: trust, loyalty, and a connection that transcended the limits of his world for several hours. Alex and the alien canine remained in the desert together. Neither spoke aloud. Communication flowed silently through shared attention, shared presence, and the subtle exchange of emotions and images. Alex felt his own senses expand. He noticed small details in the sand, the air, and the light that he had never seen before. The creature seemed to respond to his attentiveness, its movements calm and deliberate, a mirror of the focus and respect he offered. He realized that this was the essence of the bond: mutual understanding without force, connection without coercion. By midday, Alex felt a new confidence growing within him. He was still cautious. He knew the creature could be dangerous if provoked, but fear had begun to give way to respect and understanding. He recognized that he had been chosen not because he was perfect, but because he had the capacity to listen, to observe, and to act with awareness. The alien canine had found something in him that aligned with its own nature, a willingness to engage honestly and openly with something entirely unknown. As the day passed, Alex noticed changes in the environment that he had overlooked before. Small animals seemed to move differently around them, as if sensing the presence of the alien being. The desert itself, once harsh and uninviting, seemed more alive, responsive, and connected. Alex realized that the bond he was forming was not only with the creature, but also with a broader reality he had never fully understood. The alien canine's world was intertwined with the desert, its creatures, and the energy of life itself. By learning to connect with it, he was learning to connect with a greater whole as evening approached. Alex knew it was time to return to his team. He felt a mixture of reluctance and anticipation. The bond had only begun, and yet he understood that the process required patience. He had been given a glimpse of something extraordinary, a glimpse of loyalty, intelligence, and connection beyond human understanding. The alien canine had not just observed him, it had begun teaching him, showing him what it meant to form a bond based on trust and mutual respect. Before leaving, the creature stepped closer once more. Alex felt a surge of emotion, trust, approval, and a silent invitation to continue the journey. He reached out instinctively, and the creature's head tilted slightly, a gesture he sensed as acceptance. For the first time, Alex felt that he truly understood the phrase the creature had spoken. This is how our bond begins. It was not about control or command. It was about recognition, awareness, and the willingness to share a connection that could grow stronger over time. Walking back to the base, Alex carried the memory of every subtle movement, every unspoken message, and every projection of thought the creature had shared. He knew that no one would believe him if he spoke openly, but that no longer mattered. What mattered was that he had begun a journey of trust and understanding, a journey that would challenge him, teach him, and transform him in ways he could not yet imagine. Even as the night returned and the desert settled into silence, Alex felt a quiet confidence. The alien canine's presence lingered in his mind, a constant reminder that extraordinary bonds were possible when one was willing to stand still, listen, and engage fully with what was unknown. And deep down, he knew that this was only the beginning, the first step of a connection that would redefine his understanding of life, trust, and the world beyond human perception. The days that followed were different for Alex. Back at the research base, the world seemed normal on the surface. But he knew that inside, everything had changed. He had touched something extraordinary, something that could not be explained by science or reason alone. The alien canine had chosen to reveal itself to him, and with that choice came responsibility. He could no longer think of the creature as a stranger or as a threat. It was something more. It was a being that had judged him worthy of a bond. And that judgment weighed heavily on his mind. Alex continued his work with the team during the day, recording data, repairing instruments, and analyzing signals. On the surface, he appeared focused and professional, but his thoughts kept drifting back to the desert and the creature. Every signal they studied, every pattern they recorded, seemed connected in some way to that encounter. He found himself noticing details that others missed: the slight variations in frequencies, the patterns in animal movement, and the subtle changes in the wind and sand. It was as if the desert itself had become a living map, leading him toward a deeper understanding of the alien canine and its world. Unable to resist the pull, Alex returned to the desert each evening. The creature was always there, waiting. Sometimes it would appear on a ridge, its tall form silhouetted against the fading light. Other times it would approach silently from the shadows, as if emerging from the desert itself. Each encounter deepened their connection. the creature began to show him more than just images of its life. It shared feelings, instincts, and experiences. Alex learned to read these subtle signals, a shift in the tilt of its head, the way it moved its paws, the faint changes in its glowing fur. Each gesture carried meaning, and he learned to respond with equal care. Over time, Alex understood that the bond the alien canine spoke of was not a casual friendship. It was something sacred, something built on mutual respect, trust, and shared understanding. The creature's species had long traditions passed down through generations, forming these bonds with beings outside their kind. These bonds were lifelong and required complete honesty, patience, and courage. Alex realized that he had been chosen not by chance, but because the creature had sensed qualities in him that were rare among humans: a willingness to listen, to remain calm under pressure, and to act with care rather than impulsiveness. One evening, as the sun dipped below the horizon, painting the sky in shades of red and gold, the creature did something different. It approached Alex slowly and placed one paw gently on his shoulder. The sensation was strange, soft but firm, warm but not heavy. Through this simple gesture, Alex felt a surge of connection, as if the creature was sharing a piece of its being with him. Emotions and thoughts flooded his mind: loyalty, courage, protection, and the promise of shared experiences. Alex understood that this was the essence of the bond. It was not about control or ownership. It was about trust and responsibility. Alex spent hours in the desert, learning to move in harmony with the creature. He practiced walking silently, matching its pace, and observing its behavior without interfering. He learned to anticipate its reactions and to understand its instincts. Every day was a lesson in patience, awareness, and empathy. Sometimes he would stumble, making sudden movements or misinterpreting signals, and the creature would step back, giving him space but not anger. These moments taught him humility and the importance of respect in forming a true connection. The bond also demanded emotional openness. The creature seemed to sense Alex's fears, doubts, and insecurities. It did not judge him for them, but it required him to acknowledge them honestly. Alex found himself confronting thoughts he had ignored for years, moments of hesitation, fear of failure, and uncertainty about his place in the world. By facing these feelings, he became more aware of himself and more capable of understanding the creature. The bond was shaping him, teaching him to be courageous, not just in action, but in thought and emotion. As days turned into weeks, the connection deepened. Alex began to notice subtle changes in himself. He could sense the creature's moods and intentions even when it was out of sight. He became more attentive to his surroundings, noticing patterns in nature that he had once overlooked. The desert, which had seemed vast and empty before, now felt alive. Filled with signals and messages he could interpret with growing clarity, he realized that the bond was not just about the creature. It was about understanding a larger reality, a world beyond human perception. One night, under a sky full of stars, the creature led Alex to a hidden canyon. The walls of the canyon glowed faintly with minerals that reflected the moonlight, creating a serene and almost sacred atmosphere. The creature stopped at the center, looking at Alex with an intensity that made his heart race. Through the bond, it communicated a question. Were you willing to accept the full meaning of the connection, knowing it would change your life forever? Alex did not hesitate. He felt a surge of certainty. This bond was not easy, and it was not safe, but it was real. And it was an opportunity he could not refuse. With that decision, the creature revealed more of its world. Alex saw visions of other members of its species, living in harmony, protecting each other, and forming bonds with chosen companions. He saw the dangers they faced and the courage they displayed. He understood that joining this bond meant embracing both responsibility and possibility. It was a promise to stand together, to protect and support each other, and to grow through shared experience. The weight of that promise was heavy, but Alex felt ready. The next day, the bond's significance became even clearer. While exploring the desert, Alex and the creature encountered a sudden threat, a pack of aggressive wild animals that approached quickly, their movements erratic and dangerous. The alien canine acted instinctively, positioning itself between Alex and the threat. Through the bond, Alex felt its intentions and responded in kind. He moved carefully, matching its pace and anticipating its reactions. Together, they managed to defuse the situation without harm. Alex realized that the bond allowed them to function as one unit, understanding and supporting each other in a way that went beyond words or physical ability. After the encounter, Alex sat with the creature in silence. The desert was calm again, the winds soft, and the sky painted with the colors of evening. He felt a profound sense of connection and gratitude. The alien canine species had taught him something vital, that true bonds are built not on power, fear, or obligation, but on awareness, trust, and shared responsibility. By standing still, listening, and understanding, he had begun to become part of a world that was larger and more extraordinary than he had ever imagined. Over the following weeks, Alex continued to learn. The bond required constant attention and effort. He had to remain aware of the creature's needs, understand its behavior, and respond thoughtfully to subtle signals. Every moment together was a lesson in patience, empathy, and communication. Alex found himself growing stronger, more confident, and more aware not just of the desert and the alien canine, but of himself. He realized that this bond was shaping his mind, heart, and spirit in ways he could never have anticipated. By the end of Part 3, Alex had come to understand the true meaning of the bond. It was more than connection, it was a shared journey, a test of character, and a source of growth. The alien canine had chosen him not because he was perfect, but because he had the potential to meet its standards of courage, awareness, and loyalty. The bond would continue to challenge him, teach him, and guide him into new experiences. And with every passing day, Alex felt more certain that this connection, though extraordinary and dangerous, was the beginning of something transformative, a bond that would redefine his understanding of life, trust, and companionship. The desert had grown harsher as the weeks passed. The sun scorched the sand during the day, and the nights were colder than ever. Alex had grown accustomed to this environment, not just physically but mentally. He had learned to move quietly, observe every detail, and anticipate the alien canine's movements. Their bond had deepened, and he felt that he could sense the creature's emotions and thoughts even before it acted. Yet, despite all his preparation, nothing could have prepared him for the challenge that was about to come. One afternoon, while Alex and the creature were exploring a narrow canyon far from the base, a sudden noise echoed through the rocks. At first it sounded like wind bouncing off the canyon walls, but then Alex realized it was not natural. There were vehicles approaching, engines roaring, kicking up dust and sand in large clouds. He recognized the sound immediately. A military reconnaissance team, moving fast and heavily armed. They had detected the same signals his research team had been investigating. They were treating the unknown as a threat. Alex's heart pounded. He glanced at the alien canine who had frozen mid-step, ears raised and body tense. Through the bond, he could feel the creature's awareness, the subtle calculations in its mind and its concern, for itself alone, but for him. It seemed to understand that danger was imminent, and it was preparing to act, but it also relied on Alex to make the right choices. Fear surged through Alex, but he reminded himself that panic would only make the situation worse. He had learned patience, focus, and awareness from the creature. Now, he had to put those lessons into action. The vehicles approached quickly, and Alex realized they would arrive at the canyon in minutes. The military team had no idea what they were about to encounter. To them, the alien canine would look like an unknown, possibly hostile creature. Alex knew that if the soldiers fired first, neither he nor the creature would survive. He whispered quietly, speaking to the creature and thought through the bond. We have to protect each other. We cannot let them see us as enemies. The alien canine's eyes narrowed, its body lowering slightly, ready to spring or defend, but it remained calm. Alex signaled with subtle gestures, learned through weeks of observation, guiding the creature to a narrow side passage in the canyon. They moved swiftly, but silently, avoiding the main path where the vehicles would pass. Every step required precision. The canyon walls were jagged, and a misstep could mean injury. Alex felt the bond strengthen as they moved together, perfectly synchronized, each anticipating the other's actions. From their hidden position, Alex watched as the vehicles rolled into the canyon. The soldiers were armed and alert, scanning every rock and shadow. Alex could sense their suspicion, their fear of the unknown. He wished there were a way to communicate, to show them that they meant no harm. But he knew that their instincts would dominate reason. He could only hope to remain unseen and guide the creature safely through the canyon. Suddenly, one of the soldiers spotted movement, a flicker of fur or shadow, and raised a rifle. Alex's heart stopped. The creature tensed, ready to defend, and for a moment it seemed as if everything would explode into violence. But then, Alex acted. He stepped slightly forward, raising his hands in a careful, non-threatening gesture, and focused his mind on projecting calm through the bond. The creature mirrored his calm, lowering its posture and moving slowly to indicate it was not attacking. The soldier hesitated, confused by the alien's strange posture and glowing eyes. Other soldiers raised their weapons, but the uncertainty gave Alex a precious few seconds. He whispered again through the bond, "Stay still. Trust me." The creature obeyed, its body remaining relaxed but alert. Alex took a deep breath and made a small, careful motion with his hand, directing the creature toward a narrow passage that would take them out of sight of the approaching vehicles. They moved quickly but cautiously, squeezing through tight spaces and jumping over rocks. Alex felt his pulse racing, not just from fear, but from the thrill of the challenge. Every lesson he had learned with the alien canine, the patience, the observation, the subtle communication, was being put to the ultimate test. He realized that their bond was more than emotional. It was practical. It allowed them to act as one, to anticipate dangers, to make split-second decisions that could mean life or death. As they reached the edge of the canyon, Alex looked back. The vehicles had slowed and the soldiers were scanning the area, frustrated by the sudden disappearance of the unknown creature. Alex felt a surge of relief. He had managed to guide the alien canine safely through a real threat, proving not just his courage, but the depth and effectiveness of their connection. Yet he knew that this was only a temporary escape. The military would continue to search, and any encounter in the future could be even more dangerous. That night, as they rested in a hidden alcove, Alex reflected on what had happened. He realized that the bond was not only about understanding and trust, it was also about responsibility. The creature had chosen him, yes, but with that choice came the duty to protect, to make wise decisions, and to face danger without panic. He understood now that the lessons of patience and awareness were not just exercises, they were survival skills. Essential in a world where misunderstandings could be deadly, the alien canine remained close, its presence reassuring. Alex reached out, touching its fur gently. Through the bond, he could sense its approval, a silent acknowledgement that he had acted well under pressure. He felt pride, not in conquering the danger, but in standing together as equals and protecting each other. The bond was proving its strength in the harshest way possible, and Alex knew that their connection would continue to grow stronger as they faced more challenges. Over the next few days, Alex and the creature remained hidden, observing the military activity from a distance. They learned the patterns of the vehicles, the timing of the patrols, and the areas that were safe to travel. Each day was a careful dance, a test of strategy, patience, and cooperation. Alex's confidence grew, but he also knew that one mistake could ruin everything. The desert, which had once been a place of exploration and wonder, had become a testing ground, pushing him and the alien canine to their limits. During this time, Alex also noticed changes within himself. He had always considered himself brave, but he realized that bravery was more than facing fear. It was acting thoughtfully under pressure, maintaining calm in the midst of chaos and thinking beyond oneself. The bond had taught him that courage was not loud or reckless. It was quiet, steady, and connected to responsibility. He understood that the alien canine had chosen him because it sensed this potential, and now he had to live up to that trust. One evening, After ensuring they were safe for the night, Alex sat quietly with the creature under a sky full of stars. The desert was calm again, but the events of the past days had left an impression that would not fade. He reflected on the bond, the lessons learned, and the dangers they had faced together. He realized that the alien canine was not just a teacher or a companion, it was a guide into a new understanding of life, trust, and interconnection. The bond had been tested under pressure, and it had proven resilient. Alex also understood that this test was far from over. The world of humans and the world of the alien species could not easily coexist, and future encounters would be even more dangerous. Yet he no longer feared these challenges. He had learned that trust, patience, and awareness could overcome fear. The bond was not simply a comfort. It was a tool, a guide, and a source of strength that would carry him through any danger that lay ahead. By the time the first light of dawn touched the desert, Alex felt a renewed sense of purpose. He and the alien canine had survived the first true test of their bond. They had faced real danger, acted together, and emerged stronger. The experience had proven that their connection was not theoretical or symbolic, it was practical, it's powerful, and transformative. Alex understood that the bond would continue to be challenged, but he also knew that with trust, courage, and careful awareness, they could overcome any obstacle together. As they moved back toward a safer area, Alex felt a deep sense of gratitude. The alien canine had chosen him, guided him, and allowed him to grow in ways he could not have imagined. The desert, once a place of uncertainty, had become a proving ground, teaching him lessons about bravery, responsibility, and connection. And in the quiet moments, as the wind whispered through the rocks and the stars faded with the rising sun, Alex understood the full meaning of the bond. It was not just a connection between two beings, but a partnership that demanded respect, courage, and unwavering trust. By the time the final part of their journey arrived, Alex had changed in ways he could never have imagined. The desert, which had once been simply a place of work and research, had become a world of discovery, challenge, and connection. The alien canine, who had first appeared as a terrifying and mysterious presence, was now a companion, a guide, and a teacher. Their bond had been tested by fear, danger, and uncertainty, and it had grown stronger with every trial. Alex knew that life would never return to the way it was before. He had entered a new chapter, one that bridged two worlds. The morning was calm, with a soft golden light brushing over the desert sands. Alex and the creature moved slowly through familiar paths, now comfortable in each other's presence. Unlike before, there was no tension, no hesitation. Every step they took was in harmony, a silent understanding flowing between them. Alex had learned to anticipate the creature's actions, to read its subtle signals, and to act in alignment with its instincts. The alien canine had also learned to trust Alex, to rely on his judgment, and to feel confident in their shared decisions. The bond was no longer tentative. It was real, powerful, and mutual. Alex thought about everything that had happened, the first moment he had frozen in fear, the projections of the creature's memories and emotions, the lessons of patience and trust, and the trials they had faced together. Each experience had been a step toward understanding not only the alien canine but also himself. He realized that courage, awareness, and empathy were not traits he had fully appreciated before. They had been awakened by the bond, strengthened through necessity, and tested through danger. Now he carried them as part of who he was. As they reached a high ridge overlooking the desert, the creature paused and turned to him. Its eyes glowed softly in the early sunlight, and Alex could feel a quiet, powerful presence radiating from it. Through the bond, he sensed approval, recognition, and a silent message. You have grown. You are ready. Alex understood instantly. This was the moment when their connection would become permanent, not because of ceremony or ritual, but because of the understanding, respect, and trust they had built. It was a bond chosen through action, thought, and feeling, a bond forged in real life. He reached out slowly, mirroring the creature's gestures and allowing the connection to flow freely. He felt a warmth, a gentle pressure, and an unmistakable sense of unity. The alien canine leaned closer, and through their shared awareness, Alex sensed the full meaning of the bond: protection, loyalty, and mutual respect. They were no longer two separate beings, merely interacting. They were partners in a relationship that transcended ordinary experience. The bond gave him strength, calm, and clarity, and he knew it would guide him through anything the future might hold. The desert around them seemed to respond to their connection. The wind softened, carrying the faint scents of the earth and distant flora. The sand shifted gently, reflecting the subtle light in a way that made the world feel alive. Alex realized that the bond was not only between him and the creature, it was a connection to a larger reality, a world in which attention, care, and understanding shaped experiences. He felt a profound gratitude, not only for the alien canine, but also for the lessons he had learned along the way. Every challenge, every fearful moment, every careful choice had led to this point. After a while, they descended into a hidden valley, a place Alex had discovered during his explorations. Here, the creature slowed, allowing Alex to rest and reflect. The quiet of the valley was profound. The bond they shared allowed Alex to sense the creature's emotions with clarity, calmness, curiosity, and a gentle pride. He understood that the alien canine valued their connection not for its own sake, but because it represented a union of trust, courage, and mutual care. Alex felt the same, realizing that this bond was as much about understanding the creature as it was about understanding himself. As the sun climbed higher, Alex reflected on his life before the encounter. He thought about his work with the research team, his routines, and the way he had understood the world. Compared to what he now experienced, his former life seemed narrow, limited, and unaware of the depth that could exist in connection and trust. The alien canine had opened a door to possibilities he had never imagined, possibilities of companionship, courage, and a partnership that transcended species and worlds. The bond had reshaped his understanding of life itself. During this time, Alex also realized the responsibility that came with such a connection. The alien canine species had chosen him because they had seen qualities worth nurturing: empathy, awareness, and courage. It was not a gift without duty. He had to act wisely, protect the creature when necessary, and continue to grow alongside it. Each day would bring new challenges, and he would need to remain vigilant, patient, and thoughtful. The bond was not a safety net. It was a living relationship that required care, attention, and respect. Later, as they moved through the valley, Alex noticed signs of other life, small animals, plants, and subtle patterns in the wind and sand. He understood that the alien canine had been showing him how to notice these details all along. Awareness, he realized, was the true foundation of the bond. It was not only about reacting to danger or following instructions. It was about seeing the world fully, sensing life around him, and acting in harmony with what he observed. The bond had sharpened his senses and expanded his mind in ways he could never have learned alone. That evening, they rested on a plateau overlooking the desert. The stars appeared gradually, one by one, until the sky was filled with brilliant points of light. Alex and the creature remained silent, connected through the bond and aware of each other's presence. He reflected on the journey they had shared, the first fearful encounter, the lessons in patience and trust, the dangers of the military patrol, and the quiet moments of understanding. Each step had brought them closer, and now the bond felt complete. It was not merely an emotional connection, it was a partnership, a shared understanding, and a promise that neither would walk alone. Alex felt a profound sense of peace. He knew that his life had changed irrevocably, but he also knew that this change was for the better. The bond with the alien canine had taught him courage, empathy, and awareness, but it had also shown him the beauty of connection. He understood that life was not simply about survival, work, or routine. It was about understanding, trust, and the willingness to stand with others, even in the face of fear. In the weeks that followed, Alex and the creature continued their explorations. They faced small challenges together: rough terrain, sudden storms, and moments of uncertainty, but each obstacle strengthened their bond. Alex learned to trust not only the creature, but also himself, realizing that the skills and awareness he had developed were now part of his identity. The bond was not static. It evolved with experience, growing stronger as they faced life together. Eventually, Alex had to return to the research base, to the human world that would never fully understand what he had experienced. He felt a twinge of sadness at leaving the desert. But he also knew that the bond with the alien canine would remain, no matter where he went. They had shared something extraordinary, a connection that transcended fear, danger, and distance. He had learned that true bonds were built on trust, empathy, and mutual understanding, and that such connections could change a person forever. When he finally rejoined his team, Alex carried the secret of the bond silently. No one could see the changes within him, the awareness, the patience, the quiet strengths, but he knew they were real. He had faced fear, danger, and the unknown, and he had emerged stronger, wiser, and more connected than ever before. And in the quiet moments, when he closed his eyes or walked alone, he could feel the presence of the alien canine, a reminder of the lessons learned, the bond forged, and the extraordinary possibilities that lay beyond the familiar. Alex understood that the bond would continue to shape his life. He would face challenges in the human world, but now he had a guide, a companion, a source of wisdom that could not be taken away. He had discovered that courage was more than action. It was understanding, patience, and trust. He had discovered that true companionship could transcend fear and species. And most importantly, he had discovered that life's greatest moments often come when one chooses to stand still, observe, and open the heart to something extraordinary. As the sun set on his last day in the desert, Alex looked out over the vast expanse of sand, wind, and sky. The alien canine stood beside him, its eyes reflecting the light in a way that seemed almost human. He felt a deep, unshakable certainty. Their bond was real, lasting, and transformative. No matter what the future held, he would carry this connection with him, a testament to the power of trust, understanding, and courage. And in that moment, Alex knew that his life would never be the same, and that it was better for it.